Hi, this is Laura Brown giving my second speech of the semester. It's the Battle of Guanajuato and Mexico's War of Independence. This is my audience today.
Emily Van Hook.
Janina Herzog.
Margaret Wright. Rebecca Aguilar.
And I'd like to say thank you to the Guanajuato Don Quixote School for giving us the facilities and the audience here today. Thank you all for being here. In 2010, Mexico celebrated its bicentennial anniversary of the War for Independence from Spain. Guanajuato Ciudad was called the cradle of democracy because it played an important role in the beginning of this war. In fact, it was the site of the first major battle of the revolution. It was important for the people of Mexico because Mexico didn't have a lot going for them at the time, and it was a major win for them. This is the story of people who have been oppressed for over 4 centuries and how they came out of it by helping each other and by their own spirits. In my 2 years of honors Spanish work and in my 6 years of visiting the city of Guanajuato, I have never heard a story that's more inspirational or dramatic than this one, and I'd like to share it with you. Life in Mexico before the revolution was pretty bleak. The Spanish invasion of 1527 started some terrible times here. The hacienda system was installed by the French, and it was a system of nothing more than slavery. It was a hopelessness and futility where the people were constantly going in debt to the landowners. And according to Wikipedia, land grants from the Spanish monarchy included all the Native Americans then living on the land and power of life and death over every soul on the domain. So pretty much these people were slaves, whether it was in name or not. Now the Catholic Church didn't help either because they were of the feeling that rewards came in heaven and suffering was okay on earth. So as long as you were getting ready to get your rewards in heaven, you were okay. Now if you didn't believe this, the Spanish Inquisition was going on at the time, and they had ways of making you believe these things. So the church also owned a lot of land at the time, so we're kind of the same as the hacienda owners, and they had an interest in keeping the people into submission. But while the Mexicans suffered, there were some people who did take an interest in their plight, and some people with a lot of power. There were a lot of little groups going around trying to get up the power of the people to go ahead and start a revolution, but nobody really had all the backing all together. Probably the best person was Father Miguel Hidalgo from Dolores Hidalgo. He was a priest, he was very charismatic, and because he was a Creole, neither Spanish nor Mexican, he was kind of in between worlds. So he was able to talk to people in the monarchy and people with militia and money. He was also a person to represent the people. So he kind of brought everybody together, and they had planned a great big attack on the city of Guanajuato in December of 1810. But word spread of the unrest amongst the people, and while the Spanish thought it was too late to stop anything for freedom and vengeance, they did try their best. The Battle of Guanajuato was the culmination of centuries of unrest for these people, and they were out for blood. They were a ragtag group, but they all kind of cooperated in their pursuit of the common goal of freedom. So when it was discovered that the plot of the revolution in December was discovered, Father Hidalgo issued his famous grita on September 16th. It was a call to action for all the people who had been getting ready to fight in December, but he kind of had to inspire them a little bit sooner than that, and he did so in a great way. 12 days later, everybody conglomerated onto the Alhambra Granaditas here in Guanajuato, and that's where all the Spanish were holed up. They kind of knew ahead of time that the Mexicans were coming for them, so they kind of holed up in this big building in the middle of town and waited for reinforcements from Mexico City. Now, the Mexicans didn't have a lot of weapons here, but what they were able to do, because they were on an angle, was throw big rocks over at the soldiers. And they had some luck with that. Sometimes their cooperated efforts were a little bit better than other times, but they didn't have all that much luck at it. Now, the big breakthrough in the war came when one of the local miners, who was nicknamed El Pipila, strapped a huge stone about the size of a mattress onto his back and climbed up the stairs to the Alhambra, dodging bullets, and then he set the door on fire. The door burned up and it allowed all the Mexicans in to kind of massacre the Spanish. According to the historians at MexicoHistory.org, there was more than 500 Spanish killed on that day. Now, other sources say that it's closer to 700, but the Mexicans put the count at all the Spanish died that day. It was a clear victory for the Mexican patriots, and it inspired them to further victories. It also gave them some real heroes to inspire them for their further actions. Now, to this day, most Mexicans like to tell you the story of hope and victory. It would be another 100 years or so for them to have their real freedom, but this first victory suggested that freedom was possible for them. As New York Times travel writer David Leonard remarks in his December 17th article, the base of the El Pipila monument bears this message: there are still other Alhambras to burn. This is a message that Mexico takes to heart, a message that after 200 years is hard to forget. Thank you very much.
Thank you. How many